Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new episode of Geek to Me Radio, a full show tonight. We start out with Adam Richman talking about his series, The Food That Built America, on the History Channel. After that, we'll go live in studio with Aaron Walther and Greg McCrary talking about their new Kickstarter for Hamletmania 2. We've got interviews with Robert K. Boyce talking New York Homicide and Oxygen. John Irwin and John Gunn talk House of David on Prime. All that and more. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors, 4 Hogwarts houses, 1 ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And if you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS.
I'm Farmer Dave, and here's my good friend and owner of MasterCars Inc., Alex Rosenberger, with today's hot MasterCars Inc. deals.
Thanks, Farmer Dave.
Farmer Dave wanted to be part of the show, folks. I didn't hit the little stop button on the play out one, so that's fine. But as I was saying, a full show tonight. Farmer Dave not on. We're bumping him to next week. We are going to play a couple interviews with you, though, that we've got tonight, and then we've got 2 guests live in studio with us making a return to the show. So we're going to start out. Adam Richman, huge foodie. We talked a little bit about being here in St. Louis, doing stuff in Webster Grove, and he's got a new show on the History Channel. I say new show, it's in its 6th season, debuting again. The 6th season just debuted. You can catch it on the History Channel. Here's my conversation with Adam Richman talking about the food that built America.
Yale School of Drama graduate, trained sushi chef, and he's done some TV too. Adam, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
This is so exciting. I'm a big history buff, and when I was seeing some of the stuff that was coming up on season 6 of The Food That Built America, I was very excited. I know we were here in the Midwest, obviously Whitman and Russell Stover, those are 2 actual food groups, and evidently there's a rivalry between these companies. Talk to me a little bit about some stuff like that's going to be on the show.
Absolutely. And incidentally, with all the accolades you mentioned, you forgot one thing. One-time resident of Webster Grove.
Oh, that was overlooked in my... See, how about that?
I worked for St. Louis. I live right off of Big Bend. I lived in Webster Groves while working for the St. Louis Repertory Theater. And I, have developed friendships there. I first was living down by the Central West End and then moved to Webster Groves. And I was lucky because they had sort of a company car, if you will. So I would go on drives and, explore Creve Coeur and explore Frontenac and explore, all the neighborhoods. So, this season, perfect timing. We do Anheuser-Busch. Obviously, we do Whitman's and Russell Stover. But I think that's the point, right? There are brands. I was just talking with the film director, Kevin Smith. Campbell Soup, it's the world's soup, but it's Jersey. The same way you guys said Whitman and Russell Stover are food groups. And I think, the same way people in St. Louis will hold dear to the big Amico sign over the Cheshire or Louis Cake or, the Walk of Fame on Del Mar, Fitz's Root Beer, whatever, that I think there is something very, very powerful in food that, you go, yeah, it's the world's product, but we created it.
Sure.
It's ours. Trenton, New Jersey's, motto almost is Trenton makes, the world takes. And I think that there's something really cool how food can do that, how food can evoke such civic pride.
And now that you've mentioned that, I got to ask, because people always, I'm born and raised in St. Louis. I always brag about the food here, and people are like, really? And we've got, obviously, everyone said we always have some of the best Italian food. Having lived here for a while, what was your experience with the St. Louis food scene? Back me up here, Adam.
I know I loved it. I wrote a chapter about St. Louis in my first book, actually. So I lived there, and people will forget that Olive has as good an Asian market, an Asian section on Olive Street, that has so much variety and so many flavors on offer. But if you don't like Emo's Deluxe, I don't think I can be friends with you. Fitz's root beer is proof God loves us and wants us to be happy. I think, and I've had like great Ethiopian down in the Del Mar Loop. I've had great steaks down in Soulard. Shout out Crown Candy Kitchen for the greatest BLT ever. And Andy Karanzif and his wonderful family there. Ted Drew's frozen custard. And, I mean, that was so cool to me. Again, being a kid from Brooklyn, New York, okay, so sure, day one, you do the arch. It wasn't baseball season, unfortunately, when Pujols had the whole league in the stranglehold. But, I did the tour of AB and loved that. But, the music scene was great and, great nightlife and such. But to find, there was a place called Blue Sky Cafe right next to where I lived in Webster Groves. And a wonderful, just sort of, seasonal American, just great dishes that you can find, so much flavor, and from high end to low end. Like I saw movies at the Moolah, and and at the Chase Park Plaza, and Lord knows y'all got the greatest zoo ever. But that's the thing that people might marginalize St. Louis as having great barbecue. My friend Mike Emerson runs Pappy's, and Pappy's Smokehouse is such a special place because it's run by special people, and it's a singular thing, right? It exists because it's those two people in St. Louis doing what they do with local products, and that's what I love so much about it. And I think anyone who sleeps on St. Louis, and in particular Provel cheese and toasted ravioli, just unfollow me. Actually, please don't unfollow.
No, that's something you don't want to do. So make sure you keep up with Adam Richman. You mentioned gooey butter. Gooey butter is actually my blood type. So just to give you an idea of how deep into the gooey butter I am. With this show, season 6 of this, when this show launched, did you have a notion, like obviously people have this show's good, this is going to make it, or, well, I'm not sure. Did you have an idea we'd get to season 6 of The Food That Built America?
I mean, you always hope it, but you never think it, right? It's the hope that kills you.
Yeah.
But there's no rhyme or reason why certain shows hit. I was just a contributor season 1, and there was no guarantee I would be back or it would be back. And to be back 6 seasons later, I think it's just testament to the fact that people are inspired by it, that they're interested in it, and the fact that History Channel has put their faith in me to be a conduit for this information, that people seem to accept and respect me as a source for this information. It's just so overwhelmingly flattering that it just makes me work harder. And I think the harder I work, the better the product.
And I got to ask you, I'm a huge burger guy. Like anyone knows, if I'm feeling bad, if I'm having a bad day, my wife takes me out and gets me a burger someplace. You launched your own burger stand not too long ago, Adam Richman's Burger Hall of Fame. What to you is a great burger? What makes a great burger, from the bun to the meat to the toppings?
Everything. Like, it's got to be the harmony. It's got to be the harmony of all of it. And I think there's no rhyme or reason, right? You could have a great thin burger. You could have a great thick burger. You could have a great slider. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different varieties. I think with toppings, showing a degree of restraint can work. But then some of my burgers this season at Citi Field at Adam Richman's Burger Hall of Fame, I'm coming at you from all angles. So I think that if the flavors don't work together, it's not, people could just pile a whole bunch of garbaggio on the burger and think it's cool and it's a 10-foot high burger. But if it's unpleasant to eat, it's not gonna fly. So for me, I think it's like sort of the unity. But one of my favorite burgers to make, if I have really good meat or if I grind it myself, good meat, salt, pepper, slice of onion, slice of tomato, potato roll, don't need a condiment, And George Motes, who's sort of like a burger scholar, even pointed out to me, grease is unto itself kind of a condiment. And, I think technique and quality of ingredients. And, I think, the El Reno onion fry burger and the Culver's butter burger and the burgers I make and a slider from White Castle, they're all so different.
Yeah.
And yet they all have their place in the pantheon.
Yeah. Well said. I'm curious, with all the stuff you've done, I mean, going all the way back, obviously, with Man vs. Food, with Adam Eats Britain, and now this show on History Channel airs Sunday nights, The Food That Built America. Is there anything left that surprises you about food, about your job? Is it pretty much like, I know everything there is? Not that you have that attitude, but are you surprised anymore by anything you experience?
Constantly. And like, whether it's, I just moved to the Bronx recently, and, I just never really spent an inordinate amount of time. I lived in Brooklyn, often worked in Manhattan, dated someone from Queens. I had friends in Staten Island, but I didn't really go there that much. And I would venture to say, like, Staten Island and Bronx were like two big, like, blind spots of mine. And to see ingenuity, to see ingredients used a certain way or things cooked in a certain way, still surprises me. And doing the show constantly, because I never would have stopped to break down the history of or the competition between, I don't know, for example, in Mega Brands That Built America, we did Lee and Levi's. This coming Sunday, we have our coffee episode. I never would have thought that Joe DiMaggio really played a big role in the popularization of coffee in America. And like you said, gooey butter cake is your blood type. Without question, I bleed dark roast. I have a problem.
Okay.
I have a very big coffee addiction. And to go, oh, that's the story of Keurig. I didn't realize. Oh, my God. Like, Joe DiMaggio, the Yankee Clipper, was the first food influencer. Or to go, oh, there was actually a man named Jim Folger, and he changed the game on how coffee was consumed. Even finding things like how, I think it was Ladies' Home Journal, because people would roast their own coffee at home in the 1950s and the 1940s in Japan. So there were recipes that said use eggshells or use fish skin to hold the grinds down.
Wow.
It was revolting to think about. People would filter coffee through a sock. And then to see this other thing, it's just so special, I think.
And you can catch that, again, History Channel. It airs Sunday nights, The Food That Built America. Adam Richman, if people want to keep up with you online, where can they find you? Active on social medias? Which ones? Websites?
Absolutely, yeah. Just Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Adam Richman. And Instagram, don't be fooled. I just put my head on Han Solo's body. I know I get confused from all the time. But yeah, it's me. Just at Adam Richman on all the socials, and Sunday nights, 10/9 Central, on the History Channel, Season 6, Food That Built America. Coffee episode airs this Sunday. And the cool thing is we run them all in marathons. So if you missed last week's or last season's, we got you.
Perfect. We'll check that out. Adam Richman, thanks so much for your time. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. I'll see you at emails.
Sounds good. Thanks.
There he goes. Check out Adam Richman's The Food That Built America on the History Channel. Fantastic show in its 6th season now, so you can catch up and, like he said, binge the episode you missed. We're going to take a very quick commercial break. We're going to come right back chatting with Aaron Walther and Greg McCrary in studio about their Kickstarter for Hamletmania 2. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Don't change the station.
The Play-Doh Mop Top Hair Shop, sold with everything you see here. New from Kenner.
Here's Sit and Spin from Kenner.
You can spin around, sit around, even carry it around. Let's go inside. You can spin some more, like before, most anywhere you put it down.
Sit and Spin, the indoor-outdoor take-along spinning toy.
Wow! You can spin like one, spin like two. How you spin is up to you.
Sit and Spin, you put it together. From Kenner's Discovery Time.
I love nuzzling up to you, Wind Whistler. You're so soft. So soft, my little pony. My little pony is so soft to touch. I love the way you feel, my so soft pony. Paradise. Shady. Wind Whistler. Ribbon. Lofty.
MastercardsInc.com to get more details. That's MastercardsInc.com.
Hello, kiddies. This is your old pal, John Cusier, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to Geek to Me Radio, heard here every Sunday night on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm your host, James Enstall. If you missed my interview with John Cusier, probably one of the most fun interviews I've done lately. We talked ad nauseum about stuff. We didn't even get to Tales from the Crypt because he was telling us about beating Sinbad on Star Search and working with a very intoxicated Andy Griffith on the set of Spy Hard. So all fun stories like that. Go to geektomeradio.com, check out the archives. You can see all the interviews you may have missed. They're right there in their totality. You can check them out right over there. We'll make sure we tell you about our official comic book sponsor, Bugs Comics and Games. They are located on Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri, easily accessible from either Highway 70 or from 364. Go check them out. Every time I go in, there's something new to see. And as I always say, it's not a comic book store if they don't have back issues. And they've got tons of back issues from dollar boxes that are $2 each, $5 each, $10 each. Price is marked. He's got some higher end ones if you're looking for maybe a first appearance, a Golden Age or Bronze Age or Silver Age key. He very well might have those in his display case that he keeps tucked away for you. Just ask him if you're looking for something, because chances are if he doesn't have it in the store, he can probably get it. People have come in selling their collections all the time. That's another thing. If you're looking to divest yourself of your comics, maybe you've just hit that point. I was talking to my friend Joe, who owns Planet Score Records in Maplewood. He said he's had a guy come in, he buys a collection, and then every 10, 12 years, he sells them his entire collection because he just wants to buy it again. So if you're that kind of person, maybe you're ready to go on the hunt again, sell your comics to Larry and then, see if you can reacquire your collection. That sounds kind of like a fun thing if you've got a lot of money, I guess. But whatever you're doing, if you don't have a lot of money, join the Avengers Club. That way you start saving money on your weekly pull list. So start your pull list. You save money on your new comics, back issues, toys, games, bags, boards, whatever it might be you're buying from Larry. Just say, hey, I want to join the Avengers Club and I want to start a pull list. That way you don't miss a comic. Like Spider-Boy 11 sold out mysteriously. I was like, I missed Spider-Boy because it wasn't on my pull list. It is now, and Larry will update that for you as you go. If a book falls off or I don't like that anymore, let him know. He'll keep it up to date. That way you never miss a comic on New Comic Book Day in case it does sell out. Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook, also on Instagram. Give their page a like and follow him on Instagram. He'll put stuff up there that is for sale, and if you see something you like, send him a message on Instagram. Say, I want that book. He'll send you an invoice. You pay the invoice. He ships it out to your door just like that, as simple as it could be. Bugs, Comics, and Games. Very proud to have them as the official sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. And Larry at Bugs Comics is the reason we're bringing David Michelini into Two Rivers Comic Con in May. So make sure you get your tickets at tworiverscomiccon.com. Thanks to Larry for sponsoring David Michelini. Speaking of comics, as we segue to our in-studio guests, we've got Aaron Walther and Greg McCrary joining us again to talk about their new Kickstarter. The first one, fully funded, successful. They're going at it again for Hamletmania 2. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. Yeah, no, this is great. And I always love supporting local artists, especially when it's cool stuff like this. For those of you who may have missed out, there's Hamletmania Part 1, as they say in Francais. I'm not sure if that's part was wrong, but un is right. And they've got their new Kickstarter going for Hamletmania 2. Maybe if you're watching right now, you can scan the QR code right there, and it'll take you right to the Kickstarter. This just launched the Kickstarter, right? So they've still got plenty of time to jump in?
Yep. We just launched it last Wednesday, and we do a pretty short campaign, so there's still 10 days left, though.
Okay. And what did you learn from the first campaign that you're applying to this one? What was the biggest takeaway from the first one, and how is it helping you in the second half?
The biggest lesson we learned was to be as prepared as possible when you start a campaign, and we didn't learn it that well because when we launched this one, we're still really pressed for time, and we're just trying to get,
Right. I think I just expected, hey, you're going to be anxiety ridden all the way to the last second. I think last campaign, I feel like the last couple of hours is when we got all of our money to be funded. So I'm like,
it did come down to the wire a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm prepared to all right, it probably is going to happen.
And I can't remember your goal. Is it a similar size goal from last one?
It's actually a little less. That was another lesson we learned was we didn't actually need as much money as we were asking for.
When does that ever happen?
When does that ever happen? I know. Which was really great because that we can just put that toward the production of issue 2, and we're just about making the comic. We just want to get the book printed, we want to get it made, and we want to get it in people's hands.
Yeah, that's really refreshing because Greg and I were talking before you arrived at the studio. He said we're not looking to turn a huge buck here. We just kind of want which is really, I love that because you guys are doing it for the love of what you do, which makes me feel even better about supporting it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that is one thing that kind of like you would think it would be less anxiety ridden, but it's not. Is that Greg and I both have day jobs, and so we do support ourselves, and we just make our comics for the love of comics. And so you would think that it makes it nice and easy. You don't have to worry. No, it doesn't. You're still anxious and just trying to get it made.
We care about the product.
Exactly. Yeah, you want it to be good, and you want it to be up to standards.
Yeah, exactly.
And you work at Fantasy Books.
I work, Fantasy Books and Games in O'Fallon, Illinois.
And are you doing anything there as far as are you having a launch party or doing anything?
Yeah, we did have a signing there not too long ago. The issue 1 is available for sale there.
Okay.
But
and then we just did a signing for Wizard Wagon.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Delmar
okay. I love Wizard Wagon.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And that went pretty well.
And there should be copies of issue 1 available at Wizard Wagon too, unless they sold out.
It's very possible.
With the let's say that this one, for the first one might have been a sleeper, and people are like, what is this? And then they live it, and they want to support this one, so it takes off. Are there stretch goals? Because I know you guys said you're keeping it pretty simple, and you're not really out to.
Yeah, we don't have anything announced for stretch goals. We have a few ideas of stuff we would like to do, but we're not going to put that out there unless it looks like it's more
that makes sense.
likely to happen. We do have, I don't want to say what it is, but we do have a surprise announcement that we're going to make on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, keep it a surprise.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
All right.
But there will be a new reward tier added on Wednesday.
Okay.
2 of them.
Yeah.
So that puts you a week out then from the final date?
Yeah,
okay.
So anybody that's waiting to the halfway point, you're going to get
there's something to wait for.
Something extra.
Okay, nice. And then I assume because I've seen people do we just talked to J.M. DeMatteis who's doing his multiverse, and if you miss the first issue, there's a tier you can back to get the first issue on the second one. Same thing with in case they missed it.
And we also have the for the first one, we had some variant covers that are only available through Kickstarter, and we have those also still available for this campaign.
Okay.
So if you have a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of regret for not getting that variant that's only available on Kickstarter, you can get it through this Kickstarter.
There were some cool variants. So.
Yeah. We had some really good friends of ours, artists that did some variants. St. Louis artist Misimo.
Misimo, Christian Misi. I always knew him as Misi. He's like a caricature legend, a legend amongst the cartooning community around America. Yeah. He did a cover.
Nice.
It was, got more likes than anything I ever produced.
And you said he's the one you said was at C2E2 this weekend, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct. Doing caricatures up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fun. Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good variant cover, so that's always something that when I see him, I just bought
They are fun.
I bought a Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man number 7. He had an alternate Jugger Spider cover.
Yes, I saw
that.
I
gotta get that. I'm a sucker for a Juggernaut cover as well. So between the two, I was hooked. So with this going on now, this is issue 2.
Right.
Are you just kind of taking each one as it comes, or do you have plans like this will be a 6-issue series? Do you guys have any how far in advance are you guys thinking?
Okay.
So we have it. Most of the comic actually, I would say maybe 95% finished, all the way through 4 issues worth. Because I don't remember how much we talked about this the last time we were on, but Greg and I first made this comic about 5 or 6 years ago to be online, and we've after taking a little bit of a break, we've decided to kind of update it and reformat it for print, and cleaned it up a little bit, did some new art for it, so it is like a new thing, and we both think it looks a lot better.
And the story is a little bit different. I mean, you choose different wordings for different pages and stuff like that.
Yeah. But yeah, it is. It's right now. It's planned to be a 4-issue series, and that's just for Act 1.
Okay.
And then when we kind of get once we get that finished, we'll decide if we want to keep going with Act 2 or 3. Ideally, we would love to, but it's
sure.
It's going to depend on what the response to it is.
Yeah, if it keeps going up, why not keep going, right?
Exactly, yeah.
If you're just now tuning in, we're talking with Aaron. If I could talk tonight, I'm messing everything.
No worries.
Aaron Walther and Greg McCrary. We're talking with the two of them, creators of Hamletmania. I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Shannon is listening. Hello, Shannon. We have Jessica Marie is listening. Hello, Spike. Good to see you. Chance Bartel is our friend from Atlanta, Georgia. Ryan Cooper is watching. Hello, Ryan Cooper. Thank you to all of you who are watching and listening to us tonight. All of you listeners out there on the Big 550, hello to all of you as well. For those of you, maybe some people are watching right now and they missed your guys' first appearance because we haven't discussed it yet tonight. Talk a little bit about the premise behind Hamletmania.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think it's a pretty straightforward premise. It's just the story of Shakespeare's Hamlet, but told in outer space with alien wrestlers. Maybe that's not as straightforward as I think, but I think the concept sells itself.
Yeah. It's succinct. If not straightforward, at least it's succinct. The way you put that. Yeah. So, I mean, what's not to like? Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So one of the things with it that I do always try to make clear when we're talking to people is we're doing Shakespeare's Hamlet, but we're not trying to do a direct adaptation of Shakespeare. We want to just take the basic beats and the ideas in the story and the characters and recontextualize it in this new setting. Because I've always felt that professional wrestling was very dramatic and very Shakespearean almost. And so we wanted to kind of bring a lot of that energy of professional wrestling with Shakespeare. And then also, because we both just love comic books, why not far out aliens and robots and whatever else? Just something that could only exist as a comic book.
Right. Yeah, no, it's because we did complete works of William Shakespeare abridged, and they do a whole thing about Hamlet. It was the final act, and they bring in sports references and everything like that. So of course, robots and aliens with wrestling, why not?
Sure,
just recontextualizing Shakespeare. People have been doing that for a while. I love it. I love it.
Right?
Is it easy to apply the concept of was it a no-brainer with Shakespeare and Hamlet? It's just was there another Shakespeare story you guys looked at possibly kicking around?
No, it pretty much started with Hamlet for me, and it was just I was kind of studying Hamlet just on my own because sometimes that's just what you do.
Of course.
And I have a lot of friends who are really into wrestling, so I was I just exist. I understand wrestling through osmosis, but I've never really been a direct huge wrestling fan.
Okay.
And I was just thinking about it one day going through Hamlet. I was like, a lot of these soliloquies and stuff that Hamlet delivers, they almost sound like a wrestler cutting a promo. And there's just a lot of similarities I noticed between acting and Shakespeare and then wrestling. And the idea just hit me. I was like, well, that would be really funny if a bunch of wrestlers acted out Hamlet.
Right.
And then we turned it into a comic book and just took it even further places.
Right. Had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
So I assume with being able to draw the aliens and the robots, that kind of makes it even more fun for you on a comic book creation level.
Well, because I like to draw muscles. Or more like this is me getting back to drawing muscles, which I do enjoy. But sometimes anatomically, I have to really think about it. Whereas with this comic, I'm like, I don't have to think about it too much. Because there's aliens.
Right.
So if someone's like, hey, that's not anatomically correct, I'm like, hey, it's an alien.
For this alien it is. Different muscle structure,
so that I can just,
internal organs.
Right, I can just go nuts and have fun playing with the shapes of their anatomy and stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, there are comic book artists out there who don't do well with anatomy.
Exactly.
Certain people have trouble with feet, for example. You might know who I'm referring to.
You know who we're talking about.
Or Captain America with really protruding, whatever that might be.
Buxom.
I'm not referring to anyone in particular, of course. And I want to make sure I'm checking out the chats here, making sure we're not missing anybody. If you have a question you'd like to ask about the Kickstarter, Aaron or Greg, you can text us on the KTRS text lines at 84126 or leave it in the chats. I'm trying very hard to keep an eye on that. So those of you who are watching, I appreciate you being patient with me. So the second one will end, what's that? You said 10 days on a Wednesday, so that'll be on the 23rd?
Yes.
Is the final date. And so you said the last one, it's like an eBay auction. Everyone waits till the very last minute, and then you see the things start ticking up.
That's right.
Was that the same way? That was the way the first one went for sure.
It was. Typically, the way Kickstarters work is you get the majority of your pledges, people that want to support you, on the first day and the last day. And then in that middle period, that's where you really have to just struggle to drum up interest. That's part of the reason why we're doing a 2-week campaign instead of a 4-week campaign, because I don't want to have a bunch of pledges on the first day and then just be like anxiety ridden for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then get it, because that's how I've done other campaigns in the past, and they've gone through, but it's like
that makes sense.
It's so stressful for those 4 weeks, and maybe it shouldn't be, and maybe I'm doing it to myself, but that's just part of being a creator.
I've never done a Kickstarter. Is there a minimum that you have to do, like a minimum amount of time? Or because I'm thinking if you guys just did a 3-day, you'd only have 1 day of anxiety.
Correct.
I like the way you think.
I've considered that, but no, there is no. I don't.
I know if you had to have 2 weeks or it had to be a week.
No, it's like the standard they say is like a month, like or 4 weeks, but you can do a custom period of time.
Yeah. Obviously, you want the extra time to get people around, build the awareness and everything. But
that's part of it. That's part of doing a campaign. Is it's also a reason to promote yourself and promote the campaign and promote.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're listening right now, Hamletmania, that's on Kickstarter at this very moment. There's the card, and if you're savvy enough, you can probably scan that QR code. It's popping up on your computer or iPad or wherever you're watching us from right there. If you're listening online after the fact in the podcast form, we will have a link in the show notes. So just scroll down to the bottom of the page as you're listening. There'll be a link right there to take you directly to the Kickstarter, and you can back. What are the different levels that you've got on this? Because I know people have all sorts of crazy tiers. What are the levels you guys have built in?
Most of the levels, I don't remember all of the numbers exactly, but it's basically just variations on the covers.
Okay.
So like a lower level, like $6 is the main comic book cover, and then there's variants for $10, and you can get combinations of them. My favorite reward tier probably is the caricature of yourself by Greg, and I think that one is at the $50 level, because as we talked earlier, Greg, he is a caricature artist, and I think that's a lot of the fun in the character designs is that he brings this level of caricature kind of exaggeration to the characters. And so one of the reward tiers that we have is that Greg will do a caricature of you as a Hamletmania character. So he'll draw you as like a mutant or a robot or an alien or whatever, some kind of wrestler. And they've been we had several of those in the last campaign, and they were a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, they're always fun to draw.
Very cool. And if you're listening to this right now, $6 to support local artists and writers, it's well worth it just for that alone. But like I said, you get some really cool stuff. Again, there's the first issue. You can check that out and go support them. We'll have a link to the Kickstarter, and hopefully you will be able to take part in Hamletmania 2, and then we'll have you guys back on for round 3, and we'll just keep it going until we get into Act 2, and we'll go from there. But Aaron Walther, Greg McCrary, tell people where they can keep up with you online, let people know about your socials and things like that if they want to find out more about your writing, your art.
Yeah, of course. Of course, follow Hamletmania on Instagram. Which is just Hamletmania.
You believe the name wasn't taken?
I know. I was actually kind of surprised. Yeah. And then you can follow me at GregMC_graphics or at OGTV_2020 as well. Yep.
You can find me on Facebook. I'm one of the many Aaron Walthers on Facebook. But I'm probably the only one that does comic book stuff.
Second Thoughts Comics.
Yes, and then Second Thought Comics is the name of my publisher that I self-publish through. And you can also find all of my comics at the website, secondthoughtcomics.com.
So if they missed the Kickstarter and they want to grab the Hamletmania, that's there, along with the other stuff you guys do is on that one as well. Okay, so if you're listening, again, that will be in the comment section below. Thanks so much for coming out, gentlemen. It's always great to see you. I appreciate it. And like I said, we'll talk to you after this one hits successfully, and we'll have you back on for the third.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And we are going to take another quick commercial break. We're going to come back in just one moment. We've got my interview with New York City head of detective Robert K. Boyce. He's got a brand new series on Oxygen called New York Homicide, digging into some hot, cold cases, if that makes any sense. It did in my mind when I said it anyway. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550. Please stand by.
And their eerie ghostlings.
Ryan, you're dying. Now, Master.
They change to fight with ghostly might. Turn them into the light, and they change into even more powerful creatures.
Now, the lion in me is free. Take this!
Supernaturals. Lionheart, Skull, and Ghostling sold separately. New from Tonka.
H-I-T-S-T-I-A!
Something! And an amplifier, too. But you don't need drums to make these sounds. It's true.
meet the Pretenders, who we're a bunch of cats who'll do anything to get out of this pet shop, even dress up like other animals. Shh.
Hello, I am John Rhys Davis, and you have the honor to be listening to Geek to Me Radio. You lucky souls.
Couldn't have been nicer. I was so glad we got to not only have that interview we had a couple of months ago, but to meet him at Planet Comic Con last month. He's got a Welsh zombie movie he's doing. He's very excited about, and he's promised to come back on the show to promote that, I think, later this year. So we'll have another interview with John Rhys Davies later on. We'll make sure we tell you about a really cool place to visit. That is, of course, the historic St. Charles, Missouri, downtown St. Charles, the capital of Missouri before it got moved to Jefferson City. They do historical reenactments out there. They've got food truck days. They've got all sorts of fun stuff like Tartan Days happening this month, I think. And then they've got stuff going on in the park all the time. They've got events up and down. Of course, if you've been out there for Halloween at Legends and Lanterns, that's always a huge amount of fun. Or Christmas traditions, the largest and longest running Christmas festival in the country. There's so much going on in St. Charles. It's one of the reasons I've chosen to host our upcoming event, Two Rivers Comic Con. I know we didn't get to mention it, but Aaron and Greg are going to be at Two Rivers Comic Con. So if you've got your copy of Hamletmania and you want to have them sign it, they'll be appearing at Two Rivers Comic Con, so you can get that signed by them, along with a host of other people like David Michelini, Mark Bagley, Roy Thomas, Phil Lamar, Carl Lumley, Susan Eisenberg, Maria Canals-Barrera, Dan Reba, and a bunch of other people who I won't have time to mention right now. But City of St. Charles is a great place to have these events, because one of the things I noticed as I was driving down there today for QuadCon, free parking. There's a lot of free parking in St. Charles, which is really cool. Besides the events, besides the great restaurants, besides the fantastic stores like First Capital Trading Inc., they got this gorgeous giant Batman statue in there. It's a limited edition thing. As soon as I get my $3,000 together, I'm going to go get it, so don't beat me to it. You can go get a really nice sweatshirt or some fun stuff at Cozy Shop. Chuck and Lou, they had that in the 900 block. They've now consolidated the Cozy Shop in the 300 block of South Main. You want to grab breakfast at Novella's? They've got a drink called Bourbon for Breakfast that's garnished with a wedge of bacon. They had me at bourbon, then they got me with bacon. But there's all these these restaurants, these stores, these shops. These are all small businesses, and it's always important, especially in this economy, to support small businesses. So get out there, have some fun. Today was a gorgeous day to go out and walk around St. Charles, all the Pokestops. People have their noses in their phone, they're catching their Raichus and their all sorts of other Bulbasaurs and whatever else. But it's just fun. If you've not been down there lately, it's fun. Go down. We just had a great party at the Soda Museum and First Capital Arcade down there in the North Main area. So they got a huge soda museum upstairs. You go downstairs, it's a retro arcade with skee-ball, pinball, Donkey Kong Jr., all those fun arcade games you might remember playing in your ute. So check them out. Start your trip at the website, discoverstcharles.com. Again, discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. My next interview is with a retired NY City Chief of Detectives, Robert K. Boyce. Brand new series on Oxygen Network on Sunday nights called New York Homicide. Here's my chat with him. Right now, we are joined a 35-year New York Police Department veteran, retired as New York Chief of Detectives. He's exploring some of the more notorious crimes that took place in New York. Sunday nights on Oxygen, New York Homicide. We've got Robert K. Boyce. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. I think of the true crime, man, it's just exploded. There's podcasts, there's TV shows and everything like that. Talk a little bit about the genesis of the idea of having you come on and do New York Homicide for Oxygen.
Well, it started in right after 2020, around there. It's someone came up to me after the George Floyd riots and all that went on with that, and how law enforcement was treated across the country. And Hollywood approached me, two producers, said, would you like to do a TV show about investigations in New York City? I said yes, for the fact that I wanted to show people exactly what we did and why we do it and how driven. And we're not that. We're the good guys. So that's how it all started. So now we're in season 3, and we did 52 episodes. And it's proud of the work, and it's really been very rewarding, much more so than I thought it would be. I thought it would be one season, and now it turns out it wasn't that at all. And people really identify with the detectives and also the victims' families, and friends that we push. we show them who they are and the grief they went through and how they're ready to rip that scab open again and do it again when we talk about the show. It's important stuff, and it's what the big thing here is now. It's true. It's true crime. So we can't veer from the truth. There's no editorial license to it. It's not scripted at all. We have to stay with the facts.
And I'm curious with there's obviously I think of Summer of Sam, New York City, and all the stuff that went on. How far back, if someone's not familiar with the show, do you go very far back, or is it mostly recent crimes that maybe no one's actually heard of, but were big cases in New York?
So that's a great question because we've gone all the way back to 1980.
Okay.
I haven't done the 70s yet, but this time means that we won't. But we go back to the 1980s. We show what the detectives had in their skill set at that time, which was all guile and savvy. Communication was a big issue there. Determining when to talk to someone. That's always a very big issue there. I like going back to the old cases because it shows really how the shoe leather involved, the canvassing, the putting things together. It takes more time to put the case together, but they did it each time. I came on in 1984, my first homicide. I'm sorry, 83. My first homicide was 84. It's indelible in me because I was part of it. I was the first officer on the scene. I'll never forget it, and I learned from that. And that's. I remember how quickly they put the case together. It was great work, and so that's important to show back then and now, where people may will remember the crimes more. We go into ethnic neighborhoods, all 5 boroughs. We cover it all. It's just not Manhattan. It's Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island. It's all, and of course Manhattan. It's all relevant, and also the time frames. We just did a show from 1992, what the city was like then. Maybe our audience wasn't of age when they were watching that. When that happened.
Right.
We bring them back to those times.
And it's hard to think about because someone says something in the 90s and I'm like, oh, that was 10 years ago. No, wait, that was 30 plus years ago now. And it's hard to think about. And I know so many advancements have been made in criminology with forensics. And now we've got cameras all over that can do facial recognition. Talk a little bit about the technological jump that we've had in recent years. It seems like it's a double-edged sword because some people are wary of this, but then it also helps close these cases. Talk a little bit about, in your 35-year experience, how much technology has come into play and changed what you do.
It's been a game changer, not only with DNA and the advances we've made with that, but it's important. We've had fingerprint technology, of course, back then, but the videos was the game changer. We recently had a homicide in New York, in Midtown. The business executives were shot in the back. We were able to track that perpetrator all the way back to where he was staying. And that happens in Manhattan. It happens a lot of places. Brooklyn and Queens have it as well, but especially in Manhattan. Through Central Park, it was an unbelievable case. And a lot of those things are tracked back like that. Video evidence plays a big role. We had last week's program where a woman was killed by her ex-husband, her current husband, soon-to-be ex-husband. They lived in Staten Island, but she was killed in Queens. And we went back to where he lived and got him taking the body out, on a cart. That's solves crimes right there. But you have to do it in real time. It's important to understand that once you get the case, you're rocketing into. You have to do a lot of work in that first 2 days.
I know some of these shows, we see Law and Order and SVU and all these crime shows that, they get their lab reports back right away. Let's put a rush on this. I served on a jury, and that's one of the things that the defense was pointing out. We don't have any of the evidence, and the prosecutor says we might not have that evidence for a while, but we had to bring this to trial. Do you find that these shows, these network shows and these streaming services that kind of show detective work moving super fast, do you feel that kind of, I don't want to say ruins people's perception, but people expect, fingerprints, that'll come back in a day. DNA will have that in 24 hours. Do you find that that skews people's vision of how police work is done?
They have to close their show in an hour for the most part, the scripted shows. It doesn't happen in an hour, I can tell you that. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of interviews and canvases and all kinds of things. You have to present the case to the prosecutor, with all evidence exhausted, everything. Even if you get one of the cases we had, someone had a GoFundMe page, right? And we had 250 people who were identified as possibles. A lot of that was poison pen stuff with my cousin Louis, it's my friend Harry, whatever the case may be. You have to go talk to those people because you don't want a defense attorney saying that, bringing that up at trial, that you didn't address that avenue. So it's a lot of work by a lot of people. Not one person solves a crime, but it's part of a whole. But that homicide investigator, that case detective, catching that case, they are integral parts of this. And that's what the show, the episodes show, is exactly that what's in the mind of that case detective and his partner, the homicide detective, and how they go through the machinations of the case. And that's what's important.
When you're doing these shows, New York Homicide, when you're doing the episodes and everything like that, are the producers and the people who are working on this, is there any conflict of interest? Like, do they try to pick cases that, I know obviously time-wise you might not be involved in all of them, but do they try to pick ones that you had a hand in, oversaw, or is it the opposite where they kind of want to go ones that you weren't directly involved in, so you've got that bit of separation between the cases?
Well, I'm a consulting producer on the show, myself and my wife.
Okay.
And it's executive producer that we work with. So we come up with the content for the most part. My wife is a retired homicide detective, so she understands the and she knows a lot of people in Detective Bureau too. She's been a wonderful. So it helps a lot, but we try to do both. I mean, obviously the ones I worked on personally, we have done that, but also others that I haven't. But I was on the job when that happened, so I understood the time, the climate of it, and the political pressure, the media coverage also spurs you on and on. And you have to pay attention to it because you get leads to the media. So it's all that stuff is important. So it's kind of like a combination of what I worked and what I didn't work. But again, a lot of the detectives I get to speak with, I was very close friends with and still am. And so it's easy to talk to them. They're coming on the show, and they remember everything about the case. It never leaves them. That's the sign of a good detective. The recall that comes out of the back of their heads. Oh, yeah, I remember that. I'll tell you what was the turning point. They'll go through the whole thing. It makes for really good television.
And my final question, I know we're coming up at the end of our time. This recent case you just mentioned where this healthcare executive was shot. A lot of obviously the technological advancements helped us track this guy down. Social media, the way it plays into, obviously it's again a double-edged sword because we have people can give you tips in real time like, hey, we're reaching out on social media to say, did anyone see anything? But then we've got this groundswell of support for people who are on camera shooting someone. In your estimation, with your experience, is social media a hindrance or a help when it comes to catching criminals, solving crimes?
It can help, but a lot of times it's a hindrance. And I don't want to give you a percentage on that because it's hard to think. But people are just put whatever they want on social media. All right. And so, they get into that keyboard and they just say whatever's true. And it's not based on evidence. So it can mislead people often. People say what their opinion is. And often it's not backed by any evidence. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it's just a gut. But now the reader thinks if he says it or she says it, it must be true. It's not true. You're ruled by evidence. And that's the difference with this. Social media doesn't have. They're not ruled by evidence. They're ruled by more emotion than anything else.
Yeah, emotion plays a big part for sure. Again, you can catch New York Homicide Sunday nights on Oxygen. Robert K. Boyce, thank you for your time. I really appreciate talking to you.
Thanks so much, James. Have a great day.
You too. Be well.
And we go right from that to John Gunn and John Irwin talking their series, House of David.
Few stories are as classic as David and Goliath. We all know the tale. Prime Video is now streaming House of David, brought to you from the minds of writers, directors, executive producers John Gunn and John Irwin. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. My very first question, as an icebreaker more than anything else, both of you have worked with Zachary Levi, John Gunn on The Unbreakable Boy, and obviously John Irwin on American Underdog. Which one of you does Zachary like the best?
Definitely John Gunn.
I think probably John Gunn. I think, we both love Zach, and Zach's great, and yeah.
Funny enough, we actually made those movies simultaneously. We developed them, and when COVID shut the world down, we were about to shoot American Underdog, and when we were waiting to be able to shoot again, I wrote Unbreakable Boy, and so we cast Zachary Levi in both of those movies and shot them back to back in the winter of 2020. Into 2021. So he was training football for American Underdog while I was directing him in Unbreakable Boy. It was pretty great.
Oh, wow. Great. See, I did not even know that. I love the little tidbits we pick up on this show. And obviously had that St. Louis connection. Us here in St. Louis, we loved American Underdog quite a bit. That was a fantastic movie. I've not yet seen Unbreakable Boys, but I'm sure it's equally as good.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, check it out. We wrote both movies together, and John directed one, and my brother and I directed the other, and then we wrote several other movies together, Jesus Revolution, Ordinary Angels, that John directed with Alan, who plays Reacher, and yet we had never directed together and really done the whole process. We had written and produced together, and so House of David, finally we get to fully collaborate, and I love what we've made and the team that we get to lead, and I'm so grateful for the success of the show that has just been beyond anything we could have ever dreamed of. To see it as the #2 show on Prime Video is amazing.
Which actually brings me to my next question, is your collaboration on House of David. Obviously, you're both very accomplished. We mentioned writing, directing, executive producing. How did the work kind of break down for the two of you? Did one of you kind of do a little bit more with the writing and the other kind of took directing? Was it equal parts? How well do you guys play off each other, and what was the collaboration on this like?
I think mainly John Gunn does all the work, and then I talk about it and take credit for it all. I think that's the way.
A living nightmare.
No, I think I tend to have wild ideas that I have no idea how to accomplish. In this case, we're going to do a biblical epic and step into television, and so I'm typically the one jumping out of the airplane, committing us to something, and then I call John and beg for help. But really, I love the sort of the scope and scale, and I have a clear vision for the experience that I want the audience to have, and kind of steward the vision. John really brings a deep sense of humanity and authenticity to everything he does, and so House of David really is a fusion of these epic moments, but also very human moments, and I think that's sort of the way our skill sets blend.
Yeah, and it's nice with something this big to have someone to rely on, and I think it's been really gratifying for both of us to just have a partner in the process that always has something else to contribute, an idea, a fix, a save. It has been quite an undertaking, and we are deep into season 2 right now of this show, so it's a wonderful honor and tons of fun to make, I gotta say.
Was David, obviously there's tons of Bible characters. We've seen many movies done about all the heroes and people of the Bible. Was David the obvious choice when you guys started this? Was there any talk about, we want to do a biblical epic, but we are kind of torn on who to go with? How did this idea come about?
It was really much David first, in the sense that I went to Israel when I was 16 years old, and with my dad, with my first camera, and we went to Jerusalem, and I just fell in love with it. It's such an ancient city, and I went to the tomb of King David, and I was awestruck by they say there's 2 deaths, one when you die and one when the last person speaks your name, and the name of David has been echoing through the centuries. His psalms are still sung today, and David and Goliath are 3 words synonymous with the underdog and finding and following your destiny. And so I began to dream of the story as a teenager. And so every film that I've made or been involved in making has really been about trying to earn the right to tell David's story. And it's some dreams come true if you stick with them long enough. I mean, I can't believe that we got to do this, and I can't believe it's as successful as it is, and very grateful for the audience's support. And I can't wait for everyone to see the David and Goliath finale.
And you can catch it on Prime Video. Started streaming as of the 27th of February, I believe, was the initial date. I'm curious with, we talked about, John, you worked on Jesus Revolution with Kelsey Grammer, which I did see that. Fantastic film. There's The Chosen is really big as a series. It seems, I'm not as plugged in as some people like the two of you who wear writer, director, executive producer hats. Are we seeing a little bit of a resurgence of biblical storytelling in feature film and streaming TV, or is that just because I'm now suddenly aware of a couple of big projects?
No, it really is a moment in time. I've never seen a moment in time like this in my career. It really is magical, and it's incredible to be a part of it. It's really like the year of the Bible. If you think about the Bible as a source of inspiration, and in our industry, there was a time where you had filmmakers like Cecil B. DeMille and movies, like The 10 Commandments and Ben-Hur, and it's amazing to see kind of a return to that time where we can tell these stories, the greatest stories ever told, and tell them at the scope and scale that they deserve. And so it really feels like we're a part of a moment that is much bigger than we are. This weekend, House of David is the first of a 2-part finale, is happening at the same time as our good friend Dallas Jenkins' show, The Chosen. is in theaters all over the world. And so it really is amazing to see these things happen and to be a part of it.
With so many stories and all the drama from the Bible, obviously David, Samson and Delilah, you got King Herod, all these different families and drama, and it kind of touches on all those parts of the human aspect. When you're doing a project like House of David, there's always the talk of making it for the modern audience. Does much need to be changed with we've got chariot races and fights and people fighting giants literally in this one. Does much need to be changed, or is it just in how it's presented nowadays? Talk a little bit about giving a story like this to an air quotes modern audience.
Well, I think that I think the most important priority is to humanize it in a way that people can relate to it. And so there are endless primal relatable themes in this show, the relationships, the struggles of searching for your destiny, what it is to be jealous of your sibling, what it is to hope to make your parents proud, or to feel like you've somehow disappointed your family, or to overcome shame. Like, all of these things are very relatable. The fact that they're set 3,000 years ago gives us a really epic and specific backdrop. And so, I think the challenges of it really are always about how to humanize it. It's a different culture, it's a different time, it's a different language. We make adjustments so that a modern audience can watch it, and we want this to be a show that you can watch with your whole family. So there are a lot of themes. The Bronze Age was a brutal time, and we don't show all that brutality, but we find a way to represent the truth of that time, that in a way that is entertaining first and foremost, and that honors the source material.
And my final question, the casting on this. I know it was quite a bit of a long search to find your David, but you've got a great cast with Michael Eisner, with Ali Silliman, with Stephen Lang. Were the both of you very hands-on in the casting process? Obviously, you're doing a lot, as we mentioned again, writing, directing, executive producing. Did you leave the casting to the people who do the casting, or did you have quite a hands-on task in doing the casting as well?
Well, I think for any filmmakers listening, I think we've learned that if you work on the right material, the right piece of material, casting it right is probably 80% of the job. And that is something we're both deeply passionate about. And we looked at thousands of people. And for David specifically, finding Michael and just witnessing his conviction and belief and dedication to the role and skill as a musician and as an athlete, it was so inspiring. You feel like a coach watching a superstar just emerge right in front of you. And I'm so grateful to, give him his first gig in film and television. I know it won't be his last. And we found him on Broadway, and he's surrounded by such a great cast. Too many names to mention, except to say that Stephen Lang is really, really special. He's just one of the great actors of our time, in my opinion, and he's created so many films and so many diverse roles, and he really disappears into so many of them.
He's extraordinary.
He's extraordinary as an actor.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you're listening, you can catch it. It started streaming as of February 27th on Prime Video, and we're very glad to have John Gunn and John Irwin bringing us this project. Gentlemen, continued success, and looking forward to what's in store next for House of David.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait for everyone to see the finale, and we're working hard on season 2 right now, but the finale starts tomorrow, so check it out.
Perfect, and we'll hopefully have you back on for season 2 if you're game.
I'd love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Be well.
There they go. Make sure to check out all these great projects. It's amazing all the stuff we've talked about. You can see Joey V on camera, so I don't even have to turn the camera around like I do awkwardly each time because he's right there. Thank you to John Irwin and John Gunn. House of David on Prime. We've got, obviously, Adam Richman, The Food That Built America, Season 6 on History Channel. We've got Sunday Nights on Oxygen. You can catch Robert K. Boyce, host of New York Homicide. And we thank Greg and Aaron for coming in studio to talk about their Kickstarter for Hamletmania 2, the comic book Joey V was just showcasing, and the one I'm showcasing right now. So make sure you check that out as well. Thank you to all of you who listen, mostly superheroes, Ryan Cooper, Shannon, Jessica, Spike. Thank you all of you who chimed in the chats. I appreciate it. Thank you all of you who listen on the radio. And until next week, my friends.
That's a show.